Hello everyone, thank you for being here. Welcome and welcome back. Last night, right before bed, I recorded a quite difficult video. It was, I'm trying to remember what I called it. Something like the mic drop I never got to read. It was really, really heavy, but I was so tired last night I couldn't really do much more. And so I decided when I woke up first thing this morning, after letting my too many dogs out, and I actually have, I think, 2 cats in the closet with me today, so we'll see who decides to make an appearance. But I decided that this morning I just wanted to wake up and I wanted to just spread some positivity. So today I'm going to talk about, or in this video I'm going to talk about the beauty of survival, with emphasis on meeting incredible human beings. So before I get started, I only speak for myself. I only ever speak for myself based on my experiences, research, my interactions with other victims, survivors, advocates. Just by sheer virtue of what I do, I talk to a lot of people. So I only speak for myself. If you ever need information or want information from someone else, I implore you, please ask them yourself. Do not apply my experience to someone else's or anybody's experience to anybody else, because it's just not appropriate and it's usually wrong. Also, please share, subscribe, and comment. Liking says there's value. It shows other people that there's value in these videos. Sharing gets them into the hands, ears, eyes of people who need them. Subscribing gives you updates on when I post new content. If you want to follow along, if you want to see more, if you want to come back to this channel another time when you want to watch it later, that's okay. Just hit that subscribe button and you'll get those alerts. And then it also helps with the algorithm with other people looking for content like this. And then of course, commenting, share your stories, ask questions. Let's continue getting the conversation going. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you hate. Even if you hate it, it might not go away, but I'll do my best to at least respect others. I always do. So, meeting incredible human beings, the beauty of survival. So, when you're royal you, okay, it might be you, it might not be you, but I use the royal you of your. So, when you're in this situation, when I was in this situation, it got to this point where I didn't fully, I had no idea why I even existed, other than to serve this other person and appease this other person and give this other person whatever it was he wanted, not because I felt like he deserved it, mostly because I deserve to not be beaten. My children deserve to not be psychologically traumatized repeatedly. Now, much more came out of my children later on, things that I never knew, and things that were reported, things that never came back through as of any accountability whatsoever for this individual. But we noticed this theme, this trend, right? But so I did all of these things constantly just to try to appease him, so that we weren't, okay, thank you so much. We didn't deserve the way we were being treated. And so I guess, I don't know how to say it because it's not broken, but my misunderstanding, my distorted lens that I was looking through, that I had created to protect myself and my children, told me that this is what I needed to do, is just do whatever it takes to just stop him or contain him, even if it was only for a few hours or a day. Just contain it, right? So as part of this process, I lost all sense of self. I had been isolated. I had obviously kindness in my life, but it was so distant from me that I got to the point of feeling like I didn't even deserve kindness, right? Because obviously I had been told so much that I was the problem. I had been gaslit so much. I had been convinced that I had mental illness that I don't have, and I've been repeatedly undiagnosed. The diagnosis has been totally debunked. It's not there. Now, really quick side note, if someone has mental illness, there is nothing wrong with that. To me, mental illness, something like, I don't even know, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, um, obsessive compulsive disorder, all of those things, those are very real and equivalent in my mind to things like diabetes, cancer, COVID. They're all the same to me. They plague someone, they cause them immense distress, they cause them immense illness. It's real. But I do not have those. I thought I did, and the reason why I bring that up is because he had convinced me. I had had some struggles growing up, but I had a lot of trauma in my life. This has all been diagnosed as CPTSD. And so it fit the narrative so well. And he had this information on me because I'm a very open person. But he had this information on me, and he used it against me to convince me that I had these mental illnesses, or this mental illness, but I had it at like this extreme level, right? So I ended up getting like on medications trying to fix it, and going to therapy trying to fix it, and all this stuff, and fix it, and all this stuff, and trying to work, and it never worked. It never did anything. And the reason why is because that wasn't actually what was happening. That wasn't my issue. My issue was being in this incredibly abusive situation. So as a result of all of this, like I felt like I wasn't worth anything. Like I existed to serve this individual and his dreams and his desires. So one of the biggest, fastest, I guess, moments of beauty, and they continued, right? Like this wasn't one moment. This wasn't one moment. This continued. It was very, very fast, and I was just like, holy cow, like what is going on? Was just meeting incredible human beings that wanted to give and feeling that sense of worth. And I'm gonna go through 5 because, and like I said, this continued on, but this was all within, let's see, it would have been not even 5 days of everything happening. And these are just the 5 biggest ones. There were others. Did I run into people that were terrible human beings? Oh yeah, like duality. You're gonna have that. But I am choosing to focus, and I do choose to focus on the amazing people that came in to help me, right? And therefore my family. So number 1, I call Miss Guardian Angel, and she is the beautiful, incredible human being that saved my life. Now, this woman, she's not very big. She's really tiny. She's like a pocket person. I call her a pocket person. But you know, I'm very tall. I'm 5'10", and she's not. And I actually met her exactly 1 year ago that day. And I had gone to get a tattoo for my birthday. And actually, it's this tattoo right here. That, and then, oh no, excuse me. That one was later. It was this tattoo right there. Which actually is a play on my favorite band's, one of their patches, or one of their logos, artwork, and it says "People Can Change." And this though is a modification, because this was for me. This was a tattoo for me, talking about like just going through my struggles in life. And at that time, I've said it in many other videos, I didn't want to drink, but I was convinced that I had this problem because I had been told I had this problem, and I don't. I've never had an addictive personality. I've never had it like anything like that. So this was when I had gone on this sobriety kick. I was doing really well. Now, mind you, I only ever drank alcohol, but even like a beer a day to me was like, oh my God, like what am I doing, right? And so I was like, I'm done. I don't want this in my life. Now, mind you, like a month after I got this, not even a month after I got this tattoo, my abuser came through and was like, wow, you're just really not any fun anymore. Like, you just really don't do anything with me anymore. And like, I feel like I'm an alcoholic when I drink anything in front of you. And the constant berating started. And I finally was just like, dude, if it gets you to leave me alone, like whatever, right? And so I broke that commitment to myself and to my children and to my community, and for him, you know, just to appease him. But I had gotten this tattoo on would have been my 33rd birthday, and she's the one who gave me the tattoo, and this is how I met her. And I thought when I met her, she was the most incredible person. Like, she was just so cool, and so unapologetically her. And we ended up becoming like acquaintances, but not friends. We weren't like friends. Like, we would chat every once in a while. She, lived in a town an hour away, and or worked in a town an hour away, and so it was any kind of connection was really difficult. And then, of course, any kind of connection with any other human being that could have possibly given anybody else control over me besides him was unacceptable. Now, did I sneak conversations? Did I sneak text messages? Oh yeah. My dad asked me at one point. He was like, "Hey, why are you always driving when you call me? Why are you always driving?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm so busy. I just don't have time." That wasn't true. That was a lie that I told, because I couldn't call my family unless I was not actually physically in the house or around him. So if I did, he would listen to everything, and then he would start, saying things over the top of me, and then he would get angry that I was on the phone, and then I would have to disconnect the call. So that's kind of how this was. So we didn't have like this crazy friendship, this crazy best friendship or anything like that. It was just, we were acquaintances. And I ended up going, I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 months later, and I got this. I still need to finish this side, but I got this from her, and that was the second time we had even seen each other in person, right? And then the final event came along on my 34th birthday. So we're talking literally 365 days later from meeting her. This event happens. And this is, you can say this is coincidence. You can say it's kind of crazy, whatever. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything happens for a reason. We just may not know that reason in real time. And the distress that we feel at that time doesn't change necessarily, but I look for the answers as to why this is happening for me instead of happening to me, to the best of my ability. So 1 year after meeting this incredible human being, she saved my life. I text her to come get me because I was in so much distress from fighting, verbally fighting and just being just completely destroyed for days on end, that I was like, I can't be here. I had had an agreement with the police earlier on in that day, when he falsely accused me of all these things and called the police on me, that I had done. Like, it was the craziest thing, and they were like, "You need to leave," and I go, "Okay." So I call her, or I text her, and she comes to get me, so I have to wait. And that's when everything happened. Now, this woman barely knows me. Like, she's met me in person twice. We've text messaged not even like 30 times probably in a year. And she comes to get me, and after everything happened, Miss Guardian Angel actually laid over top of my body and stopped my abuser from beating me and continuing to beat me. And then and then he turns and starts attacking her, verbally assaulting her. And then I'm unconscious. Obviously, I have no idea what's going on because I'm unconscious. And I wouldn't find out until later that she actually took my son to keep him safe from his father. Now, I don't actually know how it all played out. One, because I can't watch the body cam footage. I've read reports, and my understanding is this state CPS showed up on scene. Obviously, it's a DV incident. Showed up on scene. I was awakened by EMS. I was transported to the hospital. Mr. Abuser over there, I don't know, was like perfectly fine walking around, talking to the police, whatever, and then suddenly needed to be transferred. I don't even know what happened exactly, but it was decided and agreed upon. Please don't do that. Thank you. It was decided and agreed upon that it was not safe for for my son to be around either of us, really, which is fine because at the time the circumstances weren't fully understood. And so they agreed to allow Miss Guardian Angel to take him, and she did. And she watched him for almost a week. And what's crazy is Mr. Abuser was calling her because he knew where she worked. Didn't know where she lived, thank the universe. Didn't know where she lived, but knew where she worked, and kept calling and leaving voicemails and demanding to know where his son was and where she lived and all this craziness. And you know what? She didn't give any information. She didn't answer the phone. I'm pretty sure she didn't go to work that week. So she lost like all of that money. And she literally just watched my son to make sure he was safe. And he loved her. He still to this day, almost 2 years later, talks about that week with her so fondly and how they had so much fun and she kept him safe, and he loves her immensely and she loves him. And she instantaneously became one of us, our family. She is our family. And by extension, once I meet her wife as well. And so just that was my first, when I woke up, I was like, and I kind of was told what happened, and I kind of was like trying to figure it out. That was the first thing where I was like, this woman doesn't even know me. She has no idea who I am. And she laid over top. After she tried to stop him and watched him do all of this, she laid over top of my body to protect me and then took care of my child. Amazing. Okay. Number 2. Okay. Number 2. There was a pastor at the jail. So I immediately was taken to jail. Despite all of my injuries, I was immediately taken to jail. And I was put in a holding cell. Now, for anybody who hasn't watched any of my other videos, I was initially charged for, when I defended myself, I was charged with assault based on an investigation and testimony, and the fact that I had a witness there, and the fact that I basically waived my Fifth Amendment right to testify on my behalf or to interview. My charge was dismissed and my record sealed on the basis of self-defense. But when I was at jail, I had nowhere to go. I had been transported. I had no identification. I had no money. I had nothing. I don't even know how I had my phone because I can't remember how I had my phone. I don't know. But I was getting released, and I had literally nowhere to go. I had nowhere to get there. They had tried to call DV shelters. All the DV shelters in this town were full, and they couldn't take me. They couldn't take one more, and it was all of them. And so I had been recommended it's like a treatment. It's not a treatment facility. I don't know how to explain it. But it's basically like where you go if you're having some sort of crisis or you're in some sort of crisis. And this can be kind of anything, but it's like a mental health crisis. So you're not to the point of really getting admitted. You go yourself, but it's almost like a place of solitude and peace where you can just go and be if you're having a crisis. I think that places like this are absolutely incredible. And they were kind of full too, but they were willing to take me. And so it takes a while to get released, at least it did for me. And there was this pastor, and he stayed for like a few hours. And he lived like over an hour. Oh no, he lived like 2 hours away. And this pastor just stayed there. And he was like, I will wait for you to get released and I will drive you to that facility myself. And I was just like, no, you don't have to do that. No, no, I'm good. Like, I'll figure it out. I'm not going to inconvenience this gentleman who's here as a volunteer, whatever. And he stayed anyway. And in my mind, I was so unworthy that my immediate reaction was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? Because, like, he's a pastor. That's, that's his calling. That's what he does. Like, I would do it. But nobody else is going to do that for me. So, but it makes sense because he's a pastor. Like, that's what he's here to do, right? And, like, maybe he gets paid. I don't know. So, in my head, I'm going through, like, oh, I am so unworthy. The only reason this guy is doing this is because, like, literally he thinks in his head that God tells him to do this, and he might, right? But that doesn't make it any less real. But I was so lost that I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't make sense of someone just helping me just because. And so I get released. He has this old small truck that reminds me of one of my uncle's trucks. Actually, it was like a small I think it was like a Frontier, Ford Frontier maybe. But this is just this small old truck, and I get in the passenger seat. And this is also my first exercise in trust, right? I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea who this pastor is. I've never met him. I have no idea if he actually has been hired or something by by my abuser's father to basically finish the job and just take care of me. Now, that sounds extreme, but I work in security, so this is not extreme to me. This is very much real. And I'm in an abusive marriage for 10 years where I've been threatened in this way repeatedly. So to me, that wasn't really outside the realm of possibilities. And I'm sitting there, and he gives me a box, and I'm like, what? And I open the box, and there's a Bible. Now, I am not a religious individual in terms of organized religion. I'm a spiritual individual, but I'm not an organized religion individual. But that Bible meant so much to me because it was a gift that was given for no other reason than just to help me. And yes, had I been given gifts before? Yes. Had I been shown kindness before? Yes. But again, it was so distant. And the only things I had gotten recently were given to me by my abuser, but then used against me as weapons. For instance, my Mother's Day gift. I will also say I'm not a materialistic person. It's not about the item. It's about the kindness that is behind a gift. And that gift could be anything. It could be literally a piece of string. But if it's a loving piece of string, then that piece of string matters. It's the love behind it. And so the example was like on Mother's Day that year. I had always wanted a very, very large canvas to paint, and I had wanted it for years, but I couldn't spend the money. I couldn't justify spending money on myself. So for Mother's Day, this individual, Mr. Abuser, bought me a giant canvas. You know, giant, it was big. I think it was like 4 feet by 3 feet, and brought it home. And now, mind you, he hadn't worked for years, and so like I was kind of confused because I was like, well, okay. I mean, you just obviously used my money, and okay. But again, the intent, I was like, okay, like, that's nice. You know, he actually did that. But then he starts complaining about how expensive it was and how, like, he had a hard time even paying the money because that money could have been used for things for him and for his dream that he would disguise as for the family. And this is like immediately after giving it to me. So like that whole thing like was like, oh, well, I mean, if I get a gift, someone wants something. Like they want something out of it. And that was the other thing. Like, oh, I'm going to give you this, but I want something in return. It was this constant, like nothing was ever given for any other reason than to get something for himself or a manipulation tactic to further be used against me or used as leverage in the future. So to get this Bible was like crazy to me. And it was wonderful, and I kept it. And anyway, so that was another one. Now, mind you, this is, let's see, it would have been, this is two days later, 2 days after the beating. So I get to this treatment center, and I have no idea what to expect, right? Like, but I'm like, well, I have nowhere to go, so I'm going in, and it's so calm, and you can feel the warmth and the love, and immediately I freak out because I'm like, silence is danger. What are they trying to pull here? But I don't have a choice. And this pastor is with me who just gave me a gift that really I wasn't going to do anything for him. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to trust. And this is yet another trust exercise right after all of this happened. And so I trust, and I go in, and they give me some clothes, and they're way, way too big, but my my shirt and sweater had to be cut off of me when I was in the emergency room. They had to cut it off, and I loved that sweater. I wouldn't have ever been able to wear it again anyway, but I loved that sweater. And so I had this like weird shirt that they had gotten from the hospital from donations or something like that. It was very, very uncomfortable. And so they gave me some clothes, and I was so grateful to be given clothes. And I immediately was like, I will wash these and give these back. And they kind of giggled, and they were like, no, these are for you. Like, they're not going to fit you because you're small, but these are for you. You keep these. And I did until the shirt finally ripped out, and then I actually cut the logo out and I kept it. But that third moment, a gentleman that worked there at this place hands me a hand crocheted blanket. It was just absolutely gorgeous. I still sleep with it every night almost 2 years later. And it literally has this little tag that says "handmade with love," and some organization name. And basically, I was like, "What is this? What's this tag?" And this gentleman goes, "Well, it's a group who knits and crochets to make blankets for people in need, people in hospitals, people here." Whoever needs it, they just volunteer their time and they volunteer the materials and they make these beautiful blankets. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, that's amazing. And immediately, again, I go, okay, I'll try not to use it, and I'll be really careful with it, and I'll wash it and I'll give it back. And he kind of giggles again, and he goes, no, this is yours. This is for you. And I go, no, I can't accept this. Like, somebody else needs this more than me. I can't accept this. And he goes, it's for you, and you're worthy. You're worthy of this beautiful blanket. Keep it. And I was like, okay, I will. Thank you. And I have. And I sleep with it every single night. So we have 3 acts of kindness. Again, this is within 48 hours. 3 major acts of kindness from these incredible human beings. So another one I didn't expect was a beautiful, beautiful woman by the name of Ashley. And she was in this treatment facility, had checked herself in, and had been there multiple times before. And beautiful soul, just such a beautiful soul. And that woman struggled, and you could tell she struggled. She was very open about her mental illness and her struggles. And man, was she incredible, though. Was she just an incredible, beautiful human being. And she kind of took me under her wing, and you could tell she didn't have a filter, and so, which I thought was hilarious. And so she comes up to me, and I was struggling to eat, and she comes up to me and she goes, you need to eat. And I go, I don't think I can. And she goes, yeah, I get that, but try, I'll sit here with you. And she sat there with me and ate her food and just talked to me. And then she goes, okay, like, what happened to your face, though? Like, what happened to you? Because it's, like, really bad. And I was like, yeah, man, like, I just saw it for the first time, and you're right, it's really bad. And there was a part of me that didn't want to say anything, but she asked me directly what happened to my face. And so I told her, and she gets so angry, and she goes, man, that motherfucker. And I just start laughing. And at that point, we kind of became inseparable. And I wasn't there for very long. I don't even think I was there for an entire 2 days, honestly. But despite, against kind of not the orders, but the recommendation was for me to stay because I was immensely concussed. But I had to leave. I had to get my son, and I had to go home. And it was a 12-hour drive. And so I knew I had to get going. But she hung out with me, and she told me all of these cool stories, and she just kind of took me under her wing, and she was learning from me, and I was learning from her, and it was beautiful. And she thanked me. She thanked me for being there for her and spending time with her and all this stuff. And I was like, you have no idea what you've done for me, and just being how beautiful a person you are, and taking me under your wing and spending time with me, and come on, and getting me to eat and making me laugh and all of this stuff. And so this is incredible human being number 4. And again, I think I met her the next day. So no, I met her that night because she was cutting out wedding dresses. She's like, I never want to get married ever. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And she's like, but I love dresses. And so she was cutting out dresses from bridal magazines to make like scrapbook pages. So that's all within 48 hours again. And then I end up leaving this facility, and I checked myself out. I had gotten some sleep. I had managed to eat a couple of things, but I had to get going. I had to leave. And so I one of the big things that I had been told by these people at this facility is that I needed to get a protection order. Now at the time, it wasn't known that he had charges or anything like that. So in my mind, that automatic protection criminal, hey girls, be nice. Oh my goodness. That immediate protection order for victims of violent crime, at least in this state, I didn't know that it was there, and so I went to get a civil protection order, and I talk about that in another video. I can't remember which one right now, but about that experience of testifying in front of my abuser's father and attorney, and getting my protection order for me and my son. But what was really interesting is I walk into this open courtroom, and I'm terrified because, again, my abuser's father and his attorney are in the courtroom, and I sat in the very, very back of the courtroom, in the back pew, and there's a guy in front of me, an older gentleman. He's probably, I don't know, in his 40s, 50s maybe, I'm not sure, but older than me. And he turns around because he hears me move, and my mother is with me. My mother and my sister had, and my sister was pregnant at the time, and had my nephew, and had to leave our home state and travel by car to come and get me and my son and our animals. And so I'm with my mom, and she's sitting next to me, and this gentleman turns around and sees me because he heard me, so he turns around and he goes, wow, and turns back around because my face is covered in bruises, right? Like, it's very obvious what has happened here. And this open court was hearing everything, especially protection orders at this time. And you know what's really interesting? I wonder if that's why they were there. I really wonder if that's why they were there, because this time slot was allotted for that, and the attorney would have known that. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know. That's a speculation. I have no idea. But please don't. So this gentleman's in front of me. So I go up, I testify, I secure a protection order, and I go out to the desk to get, excuse me, the official copy of the protection order, because you have to carry that with you. You have to carry this protection order with you, so that if you as the protected party are encountered by the person you're protected against, you have to be able to get that to law enforcement. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting again with my mom, and I'm waiting, and this gentleman from the court walks up, and I immediately am like, whoa, like, you stay over there. And he stops, and he goes, look, I know you're scared. I would be too, especially after hearing what I just heard. But I wanted to say something to you, if that's okay. And I'm like, who is this guy? But I'm like, yeah, I don't control your voice. Like, say whatever you need to say. And he said, I find you to be so incredibly strong. And listening to you speak in open court in that situation, and speak so eloquently about what you experience and be so strong, it gave me the strength to give my testimony, to protect myself, and to secure my protection order against whoever his abuser was. He's like, I don't want anything from you. I just wanted to tell you thank you for being so strong and inspiring me to take care of me. And I was like, yeah. absolutely. And this guy, and I'm like, again, this is only a few days after everything happened. Some of what, some of this, there are blanks in my memory from even these times after the fact because my concussion was so bad. There are many gaps in time, but I can see that he's welling up with tears. And I go, hey, you want a hug? And he looks at me just totally floored. And I go, you can say no. But I feel like we could both use a hug right now. And I think you deserve it. And I think I deserve it. And so do you want a hug? And he wells up with tears even more, and I well up with tears, and he goes, yeah, I do. I do. I would love that. So this complete freaking stranger came out, thanks me for inspiring him to take care of himself and for being so strong, and we end up hugging in the middle of the courtroom. I have no idea who this guy is. I somewhat remember what he looks like. I don't know if I would know him if I saw him again. That would be amazing if I did, but I don't know that I would know him. Other than that feeling I would probably get of like that moment that we shared. And we hugged in the courtroom, and some people looked completely confused, but the majority of people watched this moment of beauty and just smiled and saw that power of love between two people, survivors, just embracing the love that we had as survivors and as human beings. And I love telling that story because those moments drove me forward. And I will say that I had never really experienced anything. Not even never really. Like, I never experienced those moments in this environment, but I have experienced so many of these beautiful moments on the other side, going from victim to survivor. I have met so many incredible human beings. I have been given so many moments of love and kindness. I have been able to give that to others. So one of the most beautiful things about being a survivor is that you get these wonderful opportunities to meet incredible human beings and then become that incredible human being yourself that you otherwise don't get the chance to when you're still in it. So thank you so much for being here. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Share your experiences. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's raise the awareness, and let's save some lives together. Thank you.